Join my colleagues Ayanda Mhlongo as well as Simpiwe Makanya. The memorial service, remember, for amaZulu King Goodwill Zwelithini kaBhekuzulu will be carried live on SABC TV, radio and online platforms. Simpiwe, to you first. Just set the scene for us. Preparations no doubt underway for the memorial service to be starting at 10 o'clock. Tell us, though, what did we witness yesterday?
Precisely, Blaine. Good morning to you and good morning to the viewers as well. Already earlier this morning, we did in fact start to see dignitaries from here in South Africa and neighboring countries starting to arrive at KwaNongoma Royal Palace for the official memorial service of the late King Goodwill Zwelithini kaBhekuzulu, which will be starting at 10 o'clock this morning. But Blaine, perhaps to just introduce my colleague Ayanda Mhlongo, who has been working on this story from the beginning of the week up until now. Ayanda, yesterday, what did we witness in terms of the proceedings leading up to today?
Well, of course, as you remember, Simpiwe yesterday started off with amaBhuthu, the Zulu warriors, the Zulu maidens, shutting down the town of KwaNongoma as they went to collect the body of His Majesty King Goodwill Zwelithini kaBhekuzulu. It is an important ceremony, Simpiwe, that amaBhuthu were involved with, knowing that they are the warriors, they are the defenders of His Majesty. Thereafter, as we know that his body was then brought here to KwaNongoma Royal Palace, where rituals were then performed, and around midnight, the family, only males in their family, and a selected number, then took his remains to Emahashini at KwaMahlahla Palace. And Emahashini is the grave site of the late kings and other members of the royal family.
But Ayanda, as a journalist working on this story, take us through what has been happening in your mind. I can only imagine that it was not an easy one.
It certainly has been a challenging story, to say the least, Simpiwe. Of course, this is the first time in a number of people that we spoke to, only a handful would remember the time when the late Silo Cyprian kaBhekuzulu had passed, which was the king's father. And so this was new to many, many people who have been coming through here. We had to be conscious of the protocols, of the customs, of the traditions, and it was learning along the way. But certainly it has been a challenging one, and this was testament, of course. I mean, this was just no ordinary person. Here we were in the process of being part of proceedings to lay to rest a mighty king and one of the most influential monarchs in Southern Africa, and so certainly in terms of that plane, it was a huge task.
Ayanda, thank you very much for your time. That's my colleague Ayanda Mhlongo, who will continue to be with us today as we now wait for the official beginning of the memorial service, which will be addressed by President Cyril Ramaphosa. To take this conversation further, Blaine, I'm now joined by Professor Sihau Ngubane, who is a language expert from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Prof, just your overall observations of how this whole process has been conducted so far.
So far, it has been conducted with great respect for the position of His Majesty, as we know that His Majesty also respected his people. He didn't discriminate if you are royal or not royal. He used to embrace everyone who is an African, more on top of the Zulu people. He believed that people who are Africans are his own people. So I think the way it was conducted, it gave him the respect that he deserves. Yeah.
Prof, let's talk now about King Goodwill Zwelithini's legacy. What is going to be his legacy as he has now departed after almost 50 years at the helm of the amaZulu royalty?
His Majesty's legacy is that of unifier. He was a unifier, he was a visionary. Also, he was religious. So he will be remembered for peacemaking. He promoted the spirit of reconciliation. You know that we've had some disputes and conflict in the province, but he stood his ground to say, let there be peace between different political parties, and he has maintained that through from apartheid era through to the democratic era, and I think that is the main legacy that we will remember. And also he was a custodian of culture, and he promoted culture. He reintroduced some of the traditions that had disappeared, and I think there is a lot that we will remember him for.
Prof, yesterday when the king's body arrived here at this palace, members of the media were immediately instructed to switch off their cameras because there were certain rituals that were actually were going to be implemented. Talk to us about some of those rituals, Prof, because there's a great deal of secrecy around some of the rituals that actually were performed yesterday.
A ritual is a prayer. So when you pray, you can't pray with cameras, with everything going on. You must focus to the prayer and to whom the prayer is directed to. So that is the main ritual, and death is the final rite of passage. So that's why rituals are done in privacy. So because they don't involve people, they involve the king and his ancestral spirit. So it is highly spiritual and it's highly sacred. So that is why media were shied away because of that, because they need to show respect, and you can't just disclose what is happening internally.
Of course, the king has been planted now. We have gathered here to actually remember his life. But the question that remains now is, culturally, who is supposed to take over this very influential and important role in this country?
The Prince Mntwana Buthelezi, as the premier of the Zulu nation, is going to officiate in that ceremony. We had the announcement that the will be read after the memorial service, and then after that then they will announce the name of the successor.
Prof, of course, this is not the last time we're speaking to you. We'll continue engaging you as the memorial service progresses. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
That's Prof. Sihau Ngubane from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, unpacking some of the importance of the rituals that were performed yesterday when the king's body arrived. Well, in terms of the program today, Blaine, we're expecting the official program to get underway at 10 o'clock. And of course, it's the late king was accorded a special official funeral category 1, and the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, will then deliver the eulogy. Blaine, it's back to you in Johannesburg for now.
Right, Simpiwe Makhanya live for us in KwaNongoma. We thank you very much indeed for your reporting. We're going to touch base with Ayanda and Mhlongo shortly. These are live visuals from the memorial service that is scheduled to take place at 10 o'clock today. Among the speakers, Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi. We're going to hear also from the Premier, Sihle Zikalala. Obviously, the President, as we have been reporting, is going to be delivering the eulogy, President Cyril Ramaphosa as well. Also, Thabo Makgoba, Archbishop Thabo Makgoba is also involved in this memorial service as well. So we will bring you all the very latest on all our platforms here on SABC News Radio Online, as well as this channel, SABC News channel on 404. We will go to Ayanda Mhlongo in a very short while, and she has some interesting conversation with regards to what transpired yesterday. Remember, the planting, as we have come to know it, was a private ceremony. So we will be finding out the process leading up to that and what more we can expect today. So messages of condolences continue to pour in for amaZulu King, as well as the family of amaZulu King Goodwill Zwelithini, kaBhekuzulu, and also the amaZulu nation as a whole. Take a look at this report from Sophie Mokwe.
Intule bandengodonga kaBhekuzulu ivukuzane vukuzubu usuku nemini yabona ngumama osebandebeleni ubhejana odlabakayise phuma siqiwini kade bekuvalele ungalonde kakhabela.
With great humility, before we start, we've lost the king of the Zulu nation, our king Isilo Samabanja, and we are going to ask that we stand up and observe a moment of silence. Thank you.
And he related how he received the news of the passing of the king while he was in Morocco.
Early on, very early on, in the morning, I got a call from South Africa. And usually when somebody phones and they phone persistently, it's an indication that I really have to take the call. And that's when I heard the really devastating news about His Majesty the King, King Zwelithini.
The Motsepe Foundation is working with the traditional leaders around the country. In his interaction with the king, the CAF president has learned a lot.
We always used to joke and say, you are king for everybody. You are the king for all of us, black, white, all of us.
Prince Albert and Princess Charlene of Monaco expressed their sorrow, saying they have lost a friend. The Commonwealth has commended the king for the role he played in addressing the needs of his people. At the United Nations, the Secretary General conveyed his message.
We, of course, send our deepest and most sincere condolences to the king's family and his friends and to all the people of South Africa as well as the government of South Africa.
The former South African Deputy President and the current Executive Director of the UN Women says the passing of Ingonyama is a great loss to amaZulu nation.
I would like to send my condolences to the family and to the Zulu nation. I know that the king was loved, and I hope that his burial and all the traditions that go with it will go well and peaceful.
Lesotho's Prince Seiso Bereng Seiso shared the same sentiments.
As neighbors, and not only as neighbors in terms of nations, but also as family, friends, the demise, the passing of His Majesty has a sense of great loss to us as a family and to us as a nation. So we are perhaps in the process of accepting the sad news, and obviously sending our condolences not only to the family but to the entire amaZulu nation, but obviously the South African nation, because they form a great part of the narrative of South Africa.
Sophie Mokwe, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Right, stand by. We're going to have more from Sophie Mokwena in a short while. We're going to get you the very latest with regards to the passing of President John Magufuli of Tanzania. Sophie Mokwena will